I'm going to bring up the club statement and read it to you in full to get a full grasp of the situation. So, the Everton, the Everton Football Club is both shocked and disappointed by the ruling of the Premier League's commission. The club believes that the commission has imposed a wholly disproportionate and unjust sporting sanction. The club has already communicated its intentions to appeal the decision to the Premier League. The appeal process will now commence, and the club's case will be heard by an appeals board appointed pursuant. Butchered that. Sorry, to the Premier League's rules in due course. Everton maintains that it is open and transparent in information that it has provided to the Premier League and that it has always respected the integrity of the process. The club does not recognise the finding that it had failed to act within the utmost good faith and does not understand this to have been an allegation made by the Premier League during the course of the proceedings. Both the harshness and severity of the sanctions imposed by the Commission are neither a fair nor a reasonable reflection of the evidence submitted. The club will also monitor with great interest. This is a very, very interesting extract. The club will also monitor with great interest the decisions made in any other cases concerning the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Everton cannot comment on this matter any further until the appeals process has been concluded. And breathe, essentially. I'm going to quickly check the Premier League's Twitter and see if they released a statement and see what they said about it. I would assume that they did and have. As I scroll all the way down, but very, very interesting statement, which had a lot of moving parts and really stamps. It was a really strong statement from Everton. I would appreciate that if I was an Everton supporter. The fact that they really stood their ground and they didn't kind of hide or they didn't hide or they didn't make excuses. They were like, no, this is bullshit and we're going to go for it. So yeah, Everton have been deducted 10 points. For breaching financial fair play or the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. This opens up a stupidly big can of worms because Everton, but from my knowledge anyway, had one charge put against them, and that charge, from my knowledge, and I could be wrong, so please correct me if I am, but that was not even based on spending money for players, it was based on stadium spend. This is opening up a can of worms. The Premier League clubs who got relegated last year, so Southampton, Leicester, and the other club that got relegated, in which I can't think of right now, they are threatening legal action. I should probably know who that is. They're threatening legal action, which will be very interesting to see what develops. There is a sort of semi-precedent surrounding legal action made against other clubs by other clubs because of something that they did in a football avenue, and that was Sheffield United against West Ham in the mid-2000s regarding the Tevez and Mascherano debacle. Leeds were the other team that went down. So yeah, Leicester, Leeds and Southampton, the three teams that are threatening legal action against Everton or are looking to pursue that avenue. Obviously, that key extract of Everton monitoring closely the decisions made by the Premier League surrounding other cases basically heavily implies that they will be looking at the sanctions posed on both Chelsea and Man City, I should say, and will be. I'm sure there'll be another statement surrounding that depending on the decisions. But look, Everton, we'll speak on the footballing aspect of it a little bit later because I don't really think it makes a difference in terms of the grand scheme of things, right? Yeah, they might not finish higher on the table, but I still think Everton will survive. So, this is a big moment, monumental moment in the Premier League. I think monumental moment because this is the first time a team has been heavily sanctioned, footballing sanctioned, because of financial fair play. I'm just going to label this as financial fair play, even though it's technically not, but it technically is. This, whether or not Everton were just in being found guilty, I don't know. I haven't read the legal documents. I'm not a lawyer. I've got no idea, right? I'm just going to assume the Premier League Commission have acted in a fair and lawful manner and have adjudicated Everton to be guilty. Everton were compliant in the process. They provided documents. They were very transparent throughout the whole process and throughout the whole proceedings. So you can't fault them for that. I think where people are very confused and concerned and also angered by is the fact that Everton were cordial in the processes. They provided documents. They were very transparent. They were like, yes, okay, you were investigating us. We're an open book type of thing, just to in order to get this process done quickly, and also it acts as a mitigating factor. Well, you think it acts as a mitigating factor when it comes to the sentencing. Quite clearly, it hasn't, because 10 points for one charge, with being like transparent in the process as well, is pretty insane. It's pretty insane, right? This opens up a big can of worms, because what happens now? If Everton go down, I mean, I'd hate to imagine what would happen if Everton go down. I can tell you what will definitely happen. Everton will beat Manchester United on the weekend. I'll tell you that for free. A raucous. It's at Goodison, isn't it? Right? I'm almost certain it's at Goodison. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 3:30 a.m. on a Monday. So that'd be what? That'd be the late kickoff on Sunday. A raucous Goodison Park, a defiant Goodison Park against a very vulnerable and bleeding United. Yeah, Everton win that comfortably, 3-0. So there's that. I'll tell you. I'll give you that. Not even prediction. I said the future. So yeah, this will create a big ripple effect for both City and Chelsea, which I'm sure I'll touch on, but also for other teams in the league, for Everton themselves, whether or not they can bounce back from this. And also, it puts into question a lot of things about the ownership of some clubs. Do clubs want to be owned by billionaires who don't really know anything about football? Because you see the innocent consequences of being owned by a billionaire who doesn't know anything about football, when you look at like Todd Bowley, and all he's done is just spent stupid amounts of money on really bad players like Aubameyang and fucking these guys, right? So you can look at it like that, but also the more sinister consequences is, they're going to drive this club into the ground because they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to sign fucking Klaassen and Iwobi for 40 million and fucking Damari Gray, these guys, right? So these like damaging, like that cumulatively could be very damaging, right? Everton obviously thought that their squad has been a lot better than what it was, probably dating back all the way to when Benitez was in charge, or even before then. Probably even during COVID. They probably thought their squad was a lot better than what it was. They probably found their peak under Ancelotti, like Calvert-Lewin and James, and like players balling out, right? So they probably overestimated the ability of their squad. They probably thought that they would progress further in the league. They probably thought they'd finish in the European places, which would have given them a big revenue influx. Similarly, they probably thought they would have been able to finish better in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, which gives them that extra bit of top up, as well as performing better means more commercial revenue, shirt sales, sponsorships, etc. That hasn't been the case. They've sucked. They've nearly gone down twice, and this season they might end up going down. And if they do go down, it would be catastrophic, absolutely catastrophic, because you can't, like, the stadium they're going to have in the Championship is going to be fucked. They can't sustain that. Right? The maintenance for that stadium with the revenue that they're going to bring in is going to be absurd. The wages that some of the players are on, I'd hate to think what like Pickford's on, and Calvert-Lewin and these players. I'd hate to think what they're on in terms of money. And their squad as it stands is far too good to go down. Like, their squad is too good to go down player for player. So there's going to be a mass exodus. Do they have the youth to promote and to emphasize and to put a little bit of a burden on to perform? I don't know their squad that well. I know that they've got a couple of different players that started, a young centre half, I'm pretty sure, who's played quite well. You've got like Mikolenko and these players who, while aren't youth academy products, are still quite young and can still progress and can still carry the team forward and have age on their side. But yeah, from a footballing perspective, regardless of what I've just said, I don't think from a footballing perspective Everton will go down. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird, right? Because Everton are 2 points outside of, or like, how am I going to word this without sounding kind of contradicting to whatever I've just said? I think from a purely footballing perspective, I still think Everton will be fine. I don't think they'll go down. They're only 2 points inside the relegation zone. If they beat United this weekend, which I think they will, and other results fall their way, which I think they will as well, they're going to be out of the relegation zone. So while they might be in a little bit more of a precarious position, I still think their squad is good enough. I still think Sean Dyche has finally got this team ticking and playing the way that he wants to play. I think they'll be fine. It's just the overall ramifications from a business perspective, which could heavily hurt Everton, because they're going to appeal this. The legal costs and the financial costs around appealing it is going to be drastic. If it doesn't go their way, what does that happen there? Are they going to be in more debt? Is there other sanctions that we don't know about? Financial sanctions, how much are they going to be fined? I think from an Everton perspective, from a footballing perspective for Everton, they'll be fine. From a business perspective for Everton, this could be quite bad. And I think you need to look at it from both avenues, because these in this day and age, football clubs are run partly as a business and then as a football club. So I think the business side of things is far more, or could be far more damaging than the football side of things, of them just going down, if that makes sense. However, so in saying that, despite what I just said, I don't think they'll go down. But if they do, it's going to be drastic. It's going to be bad. And I think, like I briefly mentioned before, what this has, the impact that this has on so many other things, specifically Man City and Chelsea, it's fucked. It's fucked. Everton were docked one charge. Everton were charged against one thing, one breach, and they got docked 10 points. You want to do the math? Man City will be docked 1,026 points. So, okay, this is why that extract, like I mentioned earlier in the evidence statement about being mindful of other sanctions handed down by the Premier League should they find other teams guilty. Realistically, if the Premier League are consistent, look, I'm saying this as a Chelsea supporter. I'm a Chelsea supporter. This is my worst nightmare as a Chelsea supporter, because if the Premier League are consistent in their sanctions towards breaches of this kind, Chelsea and Man City should not only be docked points, they should be relegated multiple leagues, arguably even liquidated, because of how much both of those clubs would have been found guilty to financially doping in comparison to Everton. It's absurd. Chelsea have been financially doping since 2005. Man City have been financially doping since 2011, and both have been doing it on a drastic scale, on a stupid scale, right? And while they haven't been found guilty officially, there's no smoke without fire. And like I said, as a Chelsea supporter, this is horrendous. This is horrendous. But they have to be consistent, and they have to be, okay, Everton, this was your sanction. We are going to take the permutations around that sanction and how they calculated that sanction into it for Man City and Chelsea should they be found guilty. It can't be a fine. You're going to fine Chelsea how much money, and Todd Bowley's just going to pay it and he's going to be fine. It needs to be football sanctions, because that's how you properly damage a football club. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, because this... It's kind of like the floodgates, right? I don't think it was ever gonna. This might sound hindsight a little bit pox, right? With hindsight especially, but I don't ever think the Premier League were just going to announce one day, oh yeah, we've liquidated Man City, or we've excluded Man City for the league because of financial fair play. I don't think that was ever going to happen. I think there needed to be a smaller case to kind of. It's like London buses, right? They don't come for ages, then one comes, and then they all come. Right, it's the floodgates. It's as soon as one thing happens, it's a domino effect. I think that's what needs to happen in order for proper sanctions to be handed down. I don't know. It's scary, right, as a Chelsea supporter, because fuck, it's not my fault. I didn't spend the money, right? I didn't fucking spend £600 million in a year, and I didn't financially dope, and I'm not a fucking owner of a Russian oligarch. And the same with Man City fans. Man City fans aren't manipulating their commercial income and manipulating their sponsorship income because they own the companies because they fucking own the companies that sponsor their team. They're not doing that. And they're going to be the innocent bystanders and the, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to be caught in the crossfire. And it goes back to that question of celebrating things, right? That's actually the word. I'm going to touch on this briefly because I know we're ticking across half an hour, but I just put the word on my run sheet. I just put celebrating. Everton fans, right? Because I think this still relates to Everton. Last year, or the year before, when Calvert-Lewin scores that goal against Burnley, was it? Or Palace? Like, maybe it's a different scale, but I will relate it back to Chelsea. Like, that moment, no one can ever take that moment away from you. No one can ever take being in that stadium, watching it at home, and seeing that big, lanky, 6'4" guy from, I don't even know where the fuck he's from, fucking dive his head towards a ball and score in the 84th minute and win you guys a game to keep you guys up. No one's ever going to take that away from you. However, in retrospect, is it a bit like, fuck, in the same vein, that moment here, that's behind me, Drogba, right? Mata in towards Drogba, what about that? Chelsea's man for the big occasion scores his biggest ever goal in what may be his last ever match for the club. You can't write it, right? That moment there was financially doped, right? And the subsequent penalty and the subsequent win and the subsequent trophies and even the prior trophies have been financially doped. Should Chelsea be found guilty, of course. Can Chelsea supporters celebrate that now? Can Chelsea supporters sit back and think, because, okay, I wasn't that cognizant of that moment, right? I wasn't that in tune with everything in that moment, but I was 2 years ago or 3 years ago for the Havertz moment. And that was one of the most joyous mornings and days of my life when Kai Havertz rounds Edison and scores. Knowing that was financially dope, should Chelsea be found guilty, I kind of sit back and think, all right, you're not going to take the moments away from me. But in hindsight, it's like, fuck. And then to think about the biggest extreme case of the Aguero moment for Man City. It's like, fuck. That moment was unreal, but it was financially doped. So, I don't know. I've never been in this situation as a fan before. And because of the grand scale of it all, it's not like one player has been financially doped or has done whatever, because one player in a team sport really doesn't make a big difference. Like, they're very interchangeable. So yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. It's one of those things. Where I guess we just have to wait and see, because City, obviously, we're under investigation. We're announcing we're going to be under investigation. Chelsea are certainly under investigation. Everton, we knew the findings come out. The appeals process could happen, and then bang, they could be fine. But yeah, scary times for a lot of fans of a lot of clubs who are completely innocent in this whole thing. I didn't choose to financially dope Chelsea, but I'm going to pay the consequences as a fan, seeing my team in fucking League 2 or whatever it will be. So, I don't know. We'll still be there, of course. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel sorry for Everton fans, though. Like, on a whole, feel very sorry for Everton fans, because it's not their fault. And they've had to endure enough shit as it is, because their football clubs have been below par. So just for this to be added on is, I can only imagine, torturous. So, yeah, commiserations. And, yeah, really bad for Everton fans. But, fuck yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I guess we're going to have to sit back here and talk about it in a couple of months' time when more findings have been announced and more things have been announced. And when they do appeal, I will definitely be on here speaking about that, because, yeah, I've spoken about this for